Now let's talk about Donald Trump's plan. He wants to displace millions of Palestinians. He has restated that. He wants to do that without actually financial investment in the Palestinian enclave. Now, this move has taken the region by storm. Palestinians firmly reject that. They call it another Nakba. As for Jordan and Egypt, how are the neighboring countries looking about that? We tell you more in the following report.
Israel's military onslaught in Gaza has left the Palestinian enclave in ruins. Rebuilding it will be one of the largest reconstruction efforts in modern history. But the question is, who will pay for it? US President Donald Trump has laid out his plans for Gaza. In a meeting with Jordan's King Abdullah, the Republican leader said that Gaza will be under US authority.
We're not going to buy anything. We're going to have it. We're going to keep it, and we're going to make sure that there's going to be peace, and there's not going to be any problem, and nobody's going to question it, and we're going to run it very properly.
Meanwhile, Israel's bombardment and ground operations have transformed entire neighborhoods in Gaza into wastelands. Since October 7, 2023, Israel has dropped 75,000 tons of explosives on Gaza. It has destroyed over 90% homes and 88% schools. Roads, hospitals, farms, and water treatment facilities in Gaza are all in ruins. The Palestinian Health Ministry says over 60,000 people have been killed so far, with many bodies still buried under up to 50 million tons of rubble. The United Nations estimates it will cost nearly $53 billion to rebuild the Gaza Strip, while the UNDP expects that rebuilding it could take until 2040. Physical reconstruction apart, rebuilding Palestinian lives is a separate story altogether. Against a backdrop of severe malnutrition, WHO has reported 1 million cases of acute respiratory infections, 500,000 cases of diarrhea, and 100,000 cases of scabies, all within 9 months of the war in Gaza. While the future of Gazans hangs in balance, Trump says that Washington will convince Arab nations, including Egypt and Jordan, to accommodate Palestinians. Jordan says it will provide shelter to Palestinian children in dire need of assistance.
I think one of the things that we can do right away is take 2,000 children that are either cancer children or in a very ill state to Jordan as quickly as possible.
Jordan already hosts over 2 million displaced Palestinian refugees, one of the largest number of refugees across all UNRWA fields. Even though most of these refugees have full citizenship, 18% Palestinians live across 10 refugee camps in the region. Meanwhile, Egypt, that is dealing with a spiraling economic crisis, has 9 million refugees, including over 3,000 people who fled Sudan during the insurgency 2 years ago. Trump has indicated that Jordan and Egypt will reinstate Palestinians from Gaza, saying that Washington in return does a lot for the two nations.
No, I think we'll do something. I don't have to threaten with money. We contribute a lot of money to Jordan and to Egypt, by the way, a lot, to both. But I don't have to threaten that. I think we're above that. I do believe we're above that.
Both Egypt and Jordan have relied heavily on US foreign aid for decades. The current $1.4 billion in annual military aid that US gives Egypt started in 1979 after Camp David Accords were signed between Egypt and Israel. Egypt is one of the highest recipients of US aid after Israel in West Asia. On the other hand, Israel and Jordan signed the Wadi Araba Treaty in 1994, establishing diplomatic, tourism and trade relations between the two countries. This treaty laid the groundwork for Jordan to receive billions of dollars in US aid as debt relief. Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi sees Washington's plan to resettle Palestinians as a security issue. He believes certain extremist Palestinian groups and militants like Hamas are an existential threat to Egypt, and after a certain point would not welcome any members of the group settling in their country. The Arab League says Trump's plan to resettle Palestinians from Gaza will threaten a fragile ceasefire in the enclave and fuel regional instability.
I see his orientations, but I can't tell you what he's thinking about and where he is taking the Middle East to. But from my point of view, I think that if President Trump continues with this method of pressuring the Gazans, the Arab world, the Egyptians, the Jordanians, the Saudis, and all these influential powers in this region, I think that instead of resolving the Palestinian issue with a just solution based on two states, I think that he will lead the Middle East into a new cycle of intense conflict between the Arabs and Israel.
The Palestinians in Gaza have called Trump's plan a second phase of the Nakba, or catastrophe. But following Trump's remarks, will the Arabs and the West find common ground on rebuilding Gaza and rebuilding the lives of millions of Palestinians?